We believe in Canadians. The world believes in Canadians. You know who doesn't believe in Canadians? Pierre Poilievre. Because his answer to what do you do with the strongest economy in the world, strongest fiscal balance sheet in the world right now is...
Freudian slip much?
Oops.
When Justin Trudeau responds to questions, he often talks a lot but doesn't say much. However, at a recent press conference during the Liberal caucus meetings, it's what he didn't say when answering one specific question that struck us.
Let's take a look.
Hi, Mr. Prime Minister. I hope you'll take another question. So we were promised 10 minutes with you. Marika Walsh with the Globe and Mail. You were asked at the beginning about Alexander Mendez's comments, and you sort of responded with some of the things we've heard from you, things like slogans like confident Canadians invest themselves. I'm not sure people really understand what that means. How do you convince people in sort of everyday language that you can actually win this election, given what people are hearing at the door, given what people are hearing from constituents, given what the polling shows? How do you actually keep them on board?
Well, thank you, Marika, for asking me what it means to say that confident countries invest in themselves.
That's not what she asked. That's not what she asked.
But it's the question he wants to answer, right?
Like all he heard was, we heard slogans that, confident Canadians invest in themselves, and Canadians don't understand what that means. So, and then that's where he went, ooh. And stopped listening, and he was just like, okay, so I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna run with it, and nobody can stop me because I'm Justin Trudeau. Okay.
Because that's the choice that we have made, and we've made it consistently since 2015, and it's more important now than it's ever been. Canada has one of the strongest balance sheets in the world, the lowest deficit, the lowest debt to GDP ratio amongst G7 nations, the highest per capita foreign investment in the G20. Companies around the world are investing their futures in Canada. We were the third largest country in the world for foreign direct investment just last year after the US and Brazil. People around the world are investing in Canada because they believe in Canadians, they believe in Canadian workers, they believe in the future we're building here.
Don't believe that debt to GDP ratio statistic because, unbeknownst to many, the government actually counts the Canada Pension Plan as part of its assets. I mean, that's our money. That's not government money.
Yeah, so, money that you've been paying into, that I've been paying into, that almost all Canadians will pay into at some point in their lives, that sits in mutual funds and other investment accounts to essentially grow in order to be there for when you get that money back and start collecting it. The government counts that as part of its assets, as Tanya said, and so they use this statistic to offset their debt. So they try to make it look oh so sunshine and rainbowy, sunny ways, but it is absolutely not. When you actually take the CPP out of that, we have a very, very scary looking balance sheet. And the other thing that Trudeau doesn't say here, which is quite funny, is so intentional. So what he doesn't say is we have one of the strongest economies. He doesn't say that. And the reason why he doesn't say that is because he knows darn well we don't. Yeah. But when he tries using words like, fiscal policy and fiscal balance sheet and debt to GDP ratio and AAA credit rating, he's trying to use those terms to convince Canadians that we in fact do have the strongest economy in the G7 without saying it.
Well, some of those things are just, I don't know, fluff. Like what does he mean by we have the strongest balance sheet? Like
imagine if I had a 40-year-old car that was rusted to hell and back and it didn't run, and I put an ad up on there, and like and I say vintage car, recently bought brand new tires. That's basically what he's saying. So you're going to kind of assume, oh, okay, so maybe it's in good condition because buddy just bought brand new tires for it. Just because I'm talking about one little tiny thing doesn't mean that in aggregate the system is actually any good. So the entire economy is really in bad shape. All the banks are talking about it, and but Trudeau will have you believe that everything is great. It's because of the economy that the interest rates are going down. Well, he is technically right, but the economy is doing so badly that the interest rates are coming down in order to try to prevent us from sliding into a recession, which I would argue we are already in.
I was going to say, let's hope it works, but we'll see.
This government is doing the same thing. We are investing in the future of Canada by making sure kids have room in daycare so that their parents can get the jobs and careers that they want and that our economy needs them to do.
Before we get into that, I forgot one thing because there was so much there. Foreign investment. He's saying people want to invest in Canada because they believe in Canadians. No.
It's because of corporate welfare that our government hands out to these foreign investors.
Yeah,
that's our tax dollars, again, building these factories for these foreign companies.
Yeah, if you're a global national and Canada is just handing it $15 billion, which is essentially all your startup costs, which is the most expensive part of setting up shop, I'd be interested in investing as well. Sure, you're going to take all of that burden? Let's take a look. But yeah, it's not because they believe in Canadians. It's you're bribing them to come and set up shop. So how does that even make any sense? Now, when it comes to daycare, you notice what he said. He said, well, we're opening up daycare slots so parents can, have the careers they want. And then he conveniently adds in that the economy needs them to have. Well, hold on. The economy shouldn't need you to go into a particular field or go into a particular job. What happened to freedom of choice, Justin? What happened to freedom of not having to go to a job when you don't have to? Oh, that's right. You've made it economically impossible. So you've essentially systematically made every Canadian an economic slave to the Liberal government.
Well, and above and beyond that, where are all these jobs? Our unemployment rate is over, 6.6%?
It may be even as high as 7 now. Who knows?
And in some places, I heard it's as high as like 8.7. That's awful. So where are all these jobs that he's talking about?
Well, he doesn't really know. Maybe Sean Fraser lost, a million jobs like he lost a million people when he was immigration minister.
Can the minister please tell us, glasses, binoculars, or otherwise, how you lose 1 million people?
Who knows?
We're investing in the kinds of resource economy that leads into the knowledge economy, whether it's leading the world on electric vehicle supply chains, or drawing in global investment in strong jobs of the future. We are stepping up and investing in our future. We believe in Canadians. The world believes in Canadians. You know who doesn't believe in Canadians? Pierre Poilievre. Because his answer to what do you do with the strongest economy in the world, strongest fiscal balance sheet in the world right now is you cut.
Freudian slip much?
Oops. See what we were talking about?
Because it's not. Canada does not have the strongest economy in the world. I'd be surprised if it was in the top 10 right now.
Well, what does it say when the leader of the country has to correct himself when he's saying, well, when Canada has the strongest economy? Oh, I'm sorry, that's not true. I need to correct myself.
And what is the strongest balance sheet? What is that?
Balance sheet made of, I don't know.
But this is such
steel?
A ridiculous term.
It is. And again, it's a made-up term for Trudeau to try and convince Canadians that the government is doing a great job at managing the budget. That's what this is. That's all it is. And it's gaslighting to the extreme. And it's it really says something when you have people that are looking at those that would prefer to manage Canadians' money as if it were their own money, because, you know, it technically is. Manage Canadians' money responsibly. Not have out of control spending. Not just assuming that the next government will deal with it. Not just assuming that Canadians for generations to come will just pay off the debt and continue to service it. Who cares? We're not going to be around. That's not what a responsible government does. But here they are demonizing the Conservatives before they get into government to fix their mess. And it's going to take a heck of a long time to fix this mess. Who knows how long it's going to take to actually get the debt down to a manageable level where it's not costing $40 billion a year.
Well, it took him 9 years to double it, so we'll see, I guess.
You cut programs that Canadians need. You cut the school food programs. It's going to save families $800 on grocery bills. You cut the spots in childcare that are allowing women to get back into the workforce and build those careers they need.
All right, two things there. Number one, it's going to save parents $800 a year on groceries, that being the school food program. How much is it going to cost us in taxes? How much is it going to cost the childless couple next door in taxes? How much is it going to cost my grandparents in taxes? You know, it's not just you. Like, you can't look at taxpayer spending in a vacuum. Like, you have to look at everybody around you and say, what is that person paying so I can receive a benefit? The other thing is saying that women need careers. And that's because look what the Liberals have done to the economy. I mean, I see it all the time in my Facebook groups, like the local mom groups, where women are looking for a second or even a third job that they can do either after hours or when the kids go to bed, because their families cannot afford to live on the salary of both them and their husband. They need additional funds.
Yeah, it used to be, you know, you would take up a third job if you wanted to put a little bit more money away, right? To save a little bit more money. That's what it used to be. And, you know, you would hear about those people. You know, they were go-getters and, you know, they wanted to just do that a little extra more in order to save a little bit more. The problem is that's the norm if you want to survive now.
It's becoming the norm, and that's the scary part. I mean, as a parent, how exhausted are you at the end of the day after working, after doing all your household duties, after taking care of your children, and then to have to go to another job because the Liberals have made it impossible to get by without it? It's not right.
You cut the programs that are delivering for Canadians right when they need it. We have the strongest macro balance sheet in the G7.
Well, now it's a macro balance sheet. Not just a fiscal balance sheet, it's a macro balance sheet.
What does that even mean? Like, I know what all those words mean separately, but
he's basically trying to say our whole profit and loss revenue statement is the strongest in the G7. That's basically what he's trying to say.
Oh, it's almost $40 billion in the red.
Right? Well, but this is the thing. Notice he's not saying per capita when he's talking about the balance sheet, but he talks per capita when he's talking about all the other stuff.
Oh, of course. I mean, Trudeau and the rest of the Liberals will cherry pick their stats to suit whatever needs they happen to have when they're talking about this kind of stuff. They're painting the narrative with cherry picked stats.
Like, you know, we have one of the smaller populations in the G7. So when you look at our deficit and it's, oh, well, you know, it's only $40 billion. Sure, when you stack that up against countries like the United States, yeah, they have A, 10 times our population, and B, like the world's strongest economy. Well, the debate is, you know, whether that's China now, but still, it's not even close. So when he's trying to say, you know, we have the best balance sheet in the G7, like he's trying to pump his chest, it doesn't mean anything.
We believe in putting that in service of Canadians by investing in them. And the answer the Conservatives are bringing forward is, oh no, we'll create growth and opportunities through cutting programs Canadians are relying on. That's the choice that people get to make in these upcoming by-elections. That's the choice people are going to make next year. And I can't wait to continue getting into it this fall with Poilievre, whose perspective is cuts are the only way forward, because I know that confident countries invest in their future, invest in their workers, invest in their people.
Well, Trudeau, I hope you don't prorogue Parliament, because we will be there on September the 16th in question period to watch you get into it with Pierre Poilievre.
Yeah, let's translate what that means. That means I am terrified to my core after this summer, after all of the ammunition that Pierre Poilievre has been collecting over this summer and this fall to go into question period and having to face that man. He is terrified.
Oh, I can't wait.
And, you know, it's amazing that we've been, you know, speaking for about, you know, almost 20 minutes on one question, just one question from that press conference. But here it is. There is so much that wasn't said in that question, which was actually said. You know, he almost outlined everything that the Liberals have done badly over his term in office in one question, without even having to say it. Raising the debt to $1.3 trillion, causing interest rates to skyrocket, cost of living, cost of homes, cost of groceries, forcing people to work when they don't want to, forcing people out of retirement when they don't want to be out of retirement. And, you know, talking about our economy like it's something special. Oh, it's special, all right. It's a cautionary tale for future governments is what it is. And last but not least, you know, the fact that Pierre Poilievre just has his number when it comes to question period. And it's going to be a miracle if Trudeau doesn't walk out in the first 5 minutes of facing Pierre's questions, because it is going to be an onslaught.